Caitlin, welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to have you here. Thanks for joining me.
Hey Alice, thrilled to be here.
We're just bonding before we hit record about Reformer Pilates, which I can happily talk about on a podcast for many, many hours. But we're here to talk about your business, your growth this year. And you've had a big year, which we'll get into. But before that, for people that aren't yet connected with you or familiar with you, tell us a little bit more. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Caitlin, and I have a company called Interlude, and we help ambitious teams and individuals to find more sustainable high performance. And the goal of that is to be able to do remarkable work that they're proud of, but still have ample time and energy for the things and the people they love. And I do this through workshops and programs for corporates, and then masterclasses and my monthly Get Your Shit Together planning session for individuals. And I'm starting to branch out into writing as well.
I love that. I remember when you first told me that concept of sustainable high performance, and it like itched a scratch in my brain that I didn't know was there, where I was like, that is it. That's what we're about, right? Where it's like, it can feel like everything's so all or nothing. It's like, it's either hustle culture or it's wellness, don't work too hard. And it's like, where's the conversation that brings both of those sides in? I feel like we could talk about that all day.
I feel like it's really important now as well, because I think that with social media and trends like coming and going so quickly, like 1 minute we're supposed to be soft life, the next minute we're meant to be locking in for winter, and it is so exhausting. And I think that those things, because there's not much room for nuance on social media, I think that this catch-all of sustainable high performance gives space and permission for all of those things. Like you can have softness, you can have your periods where you get your head down, and it's all about what looks sustainable for you and your specific context, your work, your team, your manager, your company. And for some of us, our manager is ourselves. We have to bring that in as well.
100%. And I think that's a lot of, with different frameworks, with different language, a lot of what I think we talk about in on it, isn't it? Is like, how do we balance all of those needs where it's not just growth, but it's also not growth at any cost. There's all of these other factors to keep in mind. So speaking of your work, you've had a big year, quite a big year of transition, of change, of growth. So tell us more about that. Like when you joined on it this time last year and you're in, in that January session at the start of 2025, what was true for you then versus now? Like give us a snapshot of what this year's held for you.
Yeah, this year has been crazy, 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 crazy. So this time last year, I had been working for a tech startup for, well, at that point, it would have been 4.5 years. I have moved up through the ranks from a senior content manager to head of brand and culture, sorry, which has been amazing for my growth, my learning, and I've met some wonderful people there. And they've been really supportive of Interlude the whole time. And Interlude, if people don't know, started as an app. For the first 3 years, my now husband and I were building an app. But that started to feel really unsustainable for us. So in 2023, we pivoted it to focus on the workshops, which we're doing really well as part of our business. So I was very much just doing the workshops on the side, really enjoying it. It's where I found it's my happy place. Like I'm one of the very, very few people, you're in the same camp, where like give me a stage and I'll stand on it. Like I love it. I love public speaking. I love presenting. I love facilitating. So that was just really nice. Like I love designing the workshops. I love delivering them. I love speaking to people and supporting them. So I was just doing that on the side 1 day a week, and it was no pressure. And my plan was within 2 years, I wanted to go full time. February 2025, right at the beginning of February, the opportunity came for me to leave the company, but I didn't take it. And I thought, no, I'm still learning a lot here. I'm going to stay. Within that same month, we bought our first house. I hosted my first like big event. And then the opportunity came up again in June to leave. And so I started thinking about that, and thinking about, was I ready to take my first step? But at the same time, I was preparing for my TED talk, which was in July, and my wedding, which was in August. So it's just been
A big year in many ways. Personal and business.
such a big year. But I did decide in the end to take the leap, and I'm now full time on Interlude, which after 5 years of doing both, of having what my friend Matt Cook called part-time plus, I'm going all in, and it feels scary but very exciting. It feels like the right time.
Well, congratulations again. It's a huge, exciting leap. And it never feels like the perfect time, does it? There's always a
No,
sense of backing yourself, trusting yourself, and and kind of stepping into the unknown, but also the unknown of all the exciting stuff that can come as well. So I'm curious for you, I mean, a year of such, not just transition of your work and the business going full time, but also, you know, all of those other projects and personal life things in the mix as well. How has that been for you? Like, what has it taken for you to kind of navigate all of that with at least a sense of calm and ease and sustainability? Because it would be easy for a year like this to really kind of, you know, cause chaos.
Yeah, no, there was chaos, a lot of chaos, a lot of unease and unsustainability. But one of the things that I've learned, and this is the really, really important thing, is that sustainable does not mean a high kind of upwards trajectory. Actually, what sustainable means is being high up on that scale. You know, if we're looking at terrible to exceptional, we're high up on that scale, but the ebbs and flows are there. They're natural. Part of it is accepting them. And so, for example, I'll take the run up to my TED talk, which was just bonkers because, like I said, my wedding was 4 weeks after that. And preparing for a TED talk was so much more intense than I thought it would be in many, many ways. And it was a really unsustainable period if I had continued it. But the way I thought about it was this is a finite time, and what am I able to what can I tolerate knowing that it's only a short amount of time? And I think that's the really important thing, is that when we talk about the high performance part, it's recognizing that sometimes it is really difficult and there isn't much ease and things do feel a bit chaotic, but it's in service of the very intentional goals that we have set for ourselves. And there's a limit, and we're doing it thoughtfully. So, you know, it was chaotic, but it was almost like controlled chaos, because I was like, okay, I know that things are going to feel really difficult for a little bit, but as soon as this is over, this is what's going to happen. And I was obviously in a fortunate position where I was able to kind of give myself a little bit of a break after that. So that's the sustainable part, right? It's not that everything is ease all the time and it's never chaos. It's recognizing the ebbs and flows, and I think trying not to fight it, because sometimes it's just like that.
I really love that and definitely relate to that in a season I'm in at the moment where, yeah, it's about accepting it's never constant anything, is it? That's one of the biggest things I've seen this year with people being in on it, is like your growth ebbs and flows as it should. But I guess an interesting thing for you as well this year is that your goals and your vision have likely had to adapt and shift. Now, for any listeners, I don't want to use language that won't make sense to people. Bit of context in on it, we set yearly intentions, which are all about like the big vision, and they're built to actually be quite vague. They're not necessarily like quit my job by the end of the year. So I would assume your yearly intentions maybe still made sense, even when you then realize you were quitting your job sooner. But your quarterly goals and the kind of plans you were making in the short term, there must have been a sense of, okay, I've got to be quite agile and open to the plan changing as I go.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's really interesting is that at the beginning, I definitely had a financial goal for this year, because at the beginning of the year, I was thinking, right, 2 years, that's the plan. 2 years, I'm going to take this full time. And so at the beginning of the year, I set a financial goal to be able to prove to myself that I could make that much money as a side hustle, so that I could have this evidence that I could do it. What's so interesting is actually going full time. It's almost like that financial goal is kind of not relevant anymore, because where before I didn't really need a huge amount of structure. It was I 90% of my work was through referrals, returning clients. I'm lucky enough to have a little core of clients that just come back again and again. And so I wasn't stressed about that side of things. Whereas now it's almost like the structures and the systems, and we've been working on this. That's been where my focus has been. It's almost like the financial goals will come once those bits are in place, which is really weird. I never would have thought that it would flip that way, because you'd think going full time, the finances would be the main thing. But, you know, the finances are nothing if you're not creating things that people want from a place where it feels good.
Exactly that. And what I think is really interesting as well about your year is like you'll have joined on it and prioritized this on the business stuff when you were seeing your business as a kind of business alongside a full-time job. And then actually those habits have still been what you've needed, but they've probably just looked different or had different outcomes now that you're running the business full time. And I think that's even great to point out of like, I think sometimes people can think like, when my business is full time or when my business is established, I'll prioritize that stuff. And it's like, that's so backwards in that if you don't prioritize that stuff, you're probably not going to be able to take your business full time or grow it to that point of feeling established, or that journey is just going to feel quite difficult. So I don't think there's ever a too early to prioritize those things.
Exactly. Like the taking the business full time, like that opportunity was nothing to do with On It. But having done 6 months of On It by the time it came around again the second time, because I've been doing so much work on those habits, systems, things like the financial stuff, which before, honestly, I'd just been like, what can I'll do the kind of bare minimum, tracking my invoices, keeping it tidy, that sort of thing. But actually thinking about it differently, I think that I felt in a much stronger place to actually take the leap. So I think that had I not been doing that work with On It, I don't know if I would have had the confidence. I think I would have felt like this was still quite scrappy. Whereas because we've been doing all of this work continually, and also, might I add, hearing all of these other people in the group who are doing things as well, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do it. These people are doing it. I can do it. These people are doing really interesting things. I can do interesting things, So yeah, I think it was really pivotal in giving me the confidence, but also the frameworks that I didn't feel like I'd have to start all of those from scratch, which I think would have been so overwhelming that I probably just wouldn't have done it.
I 100% see what you mean there. I've almost, I think of On It sometimes a bit like stabilizers, where it's like you've got the stabilizers, so whatever season of growth you're in, it's just that bit easier to do it, to stay on track. And like you said, you're just taking away then the need and the mental load. It's kind of like what HelloFresh does for people making food. You still have to make the food. Like it is you that is now growing your business full time, and all of that action is you. But maybe what something like On It does is almost just gives you the ingredients, the recipe, so that you can just get your head down and just do the thing and know that you're going to make that nice dinner rather than procrastinate and, whatever else might happen if you didn't have it in a box.
Yeah, I actually think another analogy that works really well here is bowling, where you're the On It is the putting the sides up. It's up to you to get the strike, right? But you know that you're not going to just fall in the gutter. Like sometimes you're going to miss. Sometimes I don't bowl, so I don't know what the things are. But like it's not always going to be a strike, but you'll be able to. You know that you're not going to just flop because there's so many different resources and there's all the support that you get from both from you and from the group as well.
Yeah, I love what you said there about the community, because that's been a real unexpected positive to me is even feeling it for myself. Like when you're in an environment where, as you said, people are saying like, I've just had my biggest sales month, I've just landed this big client, I've just made this big bit of change, like I've just won this award, like whatever the win is, there's something about that just makes you believe in your own goals a bit more, isn't it? Where it's like, okay, if other people are winning, it would be like if you were in a restaurant and everyone around you didn't have their food yet and their table was messy, you'd kind of be like, oh gosh, maybe my expectations need to be lower for my experience. Whereas if you're around people that are like, things are going really well, but also some people are also admitting things are hard, it's not all just the positives, but then it's easier to believe that your goals can happen. Because as you said, we don't have managers or employers that are like, you can do this. You kind of have to have that belief in yourself, which is easier said than done, I think, especially for a year like what you've had, where you're basically going, right now, I believed in the business at this size. Can I believe in it at this next big stage?
Yeah, exactly. I think also the other thing about the community, which is so nice, is I have found when we're in the monthly calls, and it's also in the co-working calls, when people put in the chat a problem that they're having or a win that they're having, people are so genuinely excited for you or genuinely supportive of you. And I think in other spaces I've found there's a bit of a scarcity mindset where someone else is winning means that you can't win. Whereas here, it's what we were just saying, where it's like someone else is winning and people are like so happy for you and also are like, okay, cool. And ask questions like, oh, how did you do this? And how did you do that? And people are so willing to share. And I think that's really important because I do think in some spaces, it can suck the excitement out of it because people think that's one less thing for them. But it's just not the case. There's so much space.
Oh, I really love that. And honestly, just thinking about kind of even the last, it's only been 4 months, right? Since you kind of, as you said, midway through the year, we're kind of sat with this decision. I would love to hear also just from a curiosity standpoint. I think it's so valuable to others that are maybe in that season of taking a leap with their business, whatever that might look like. What do you feel you've really learned in that season, like in the last kind of 4 months? Maybe if you were to go back to the you of June, what do you feel are some of those big shifts or lessons?
Well, first of all, I started looking for a job because in my head, it was still 2 years. Like that was the plan. And so I started looking for another job. And what was really strange was that I kept 3 times I had interviews where the founder said literally these words like, you are exceptional, you are perfect. Those are the words I kept hearing. And then I get ghosted. And I was just like, what is going on? How can I be perfect and exceptional and then get ghosted? I don't get it. And for a while I was really beating myself up and being like, well, you're just gonna have to lower your expectations and get, go for a lower job role, go for a lower salary, those sorts of things. And then it just started to dawn on me. I was like, well, maybe the reason these aren't working out is because I'm meant to be doing my own thing. And so that's taken the best part of those few months has been going through that tension of should I be, working for someone else, which is obviously a great thing to do, and I have done for a long time, or should I just see where this goes? And so I think that it wasn't a simple like leave my job, do my business, because I had to go through that wrestling. I do think that I feel much more secure in my decision because I do think that sometimes you have to go through that wrestling period to know that you've really thought it through. So I think there's that. And I think also it's really given me this opportunity to reflect on where I've gotten because I have been doing this for 5 years and it's really easy, to look at so many other, particularly female founders who started their businesses at the same time. A lot of people who are in our networks who are absolutely smashing it, who are soaring, they're on the news all the time. They've got columns, they've got books, all of this sort of thing. And it's easy to say, oh, well, I'm not doing any of that. But actually, given the space to look back, I can say, no, I've done some really exciting things. I've helped thousands of people. Like I've tallied up how many people I've worked with. It's over 5,000 in 5 years. Like it's given me this moment to look over things and actually say, I'm not starting from zero. I'm starting from a really strong place where I've already proven that what I have really helps people. It's that ikigai thing, right? It helps people. People want to pay for it. I feel really confident doing it. And now I've been able to use this bit of time since I've made the decision to work on offerings, pricing, all that sort of thing. And then as of next Friday, I'm officially all in.
That is so exciting. Honestly, it's so cool to think of like where you were in January versus where you'll be in our like December reflection session and how much this year has held that I'm sure to the year of January would be so unexpected but incredibly exciting if she were to hear. Probably be one of those things where she'd be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, but how is that going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. How could you possibly get there? We think of things as big leaps, don't we? And you have to take a leap of faith, but actually every leap is built up by a series of little like taking a deep breath and taking a bet on yourself.
And I think what your year also really demonstrates is that as business owners, we shouldn't and don't need to be overly rigid with that longer term vision. There's a reason why we set yearly intentions which are quite vague, is because I just don't think you need to know exactly what the year's going to hold for your growth to be intentional and for you to grow. I think we've got to know what's important to us, roughly where we're going, that North Star concept, but actually taking it quarter by quarter, especially when you look at a year like yours, that was essential. Imagine if you'd have set goals that were for the whole year and then you get midway through the year, quit your job, and you're like, well, suddenly that plan feels completely irrelevant. Whereas actually I think that's a good reminder of why that like kind of 12-week rolling concept makes sense, because you get to kind of chunk it, and then the plan changing and evolving doesn't feel like a negative, because it's not. Evolving is what keeps your business growing, and if you don't evolve, that's a bad thing. And so I love that reminder as well.
I think one of the things with Onnit actually that is so useful for that is that so for anyone who doesn't know, we've got the monthly sessions, and even though each one of them has a different topic and a different theme, and we learn different things and use different resources, there is still a level of repeated reflection that we do every month. And I think that combination is so helpful because we are learning different things, but also that there's space for you to reflect. And if we were in a team, if you were in a company, you should be doing that every month Anyway, so it's really helpful to have that, and it's almost like having your kind of remote team that you do it with. And then those quarterly sessions are where we can really kind of redirect or dig down onto the path that we're on. So I think that combination of monthly, quarterly really helps with what you're saying there of being able to stay focused but agile at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so glad it feels that way to you because that's exactly where it comes from. And yeah, I haven't even, that's a reminder. I'm going to make some content about what we do in those monthly sessions because we do our monthly gems. We pick up our monthly gems by looking at the goals, experiments, and metrics, which some people will be like, what do you mean by that? But we know we got those habits. And like you said, it's what you would do if you had a team, if you had investors, if you had a big company, that is what you do every month. And I think as small business owners, when we shouldn't be exempt from that, but it is hard to do that on your own, which is why that space can be useful. I love everything that you shared, and I just genuinely am so excited for like what the next season is looking like for you. I think, I know as well, we've already got you in On It 2026, so welcome. That's very exciting, and just exciting to think like this time next year, who knows, we'll be recording another of these episodes and you'll be like, we're here now.
Honestly, who knows? But all being well, we'll both have golden retrievers by then.
Yes. Yeah, that is a goal that we bond over.
That's the goal that is set in stone.
That is a rigid goal. That's where it's allowed. I love it. Final question I would love to end on. You were super speedy in signing up for On It 2026, which is so exciting. Very grateful for that. What was it for anyone that's maybe thinking about joining or on the fence? Like, what was it when you saw that On It 2026 email that made you go like, yeah, I'm in?
I think I've always beaten myself up for being quite chaotic. My brain is a very noisy, busy. Like when I was a child, my mum said I'd fall asleep talking and wake up talking, like the same sentence. And I've always been, I've always been like that. And I used to really beat myself up about it, but now I'm starting to see that that's actually where my superpowers are. Where that has brought me stress, I found, is because of my organization is in a different place. It's not about like structures and consistency. It's kind of a separate part of my brain. And so this having the external accountability and structure is a no-brainer for me because it's just there, it's in my calendar. I know I'm doing it, I know I'm turning up, and I can just do it I can turn up on autopilot and then be in the room instead of, putting something in my own calendar and something else is too important, move it around. So it's that accountability and structure that I have found really hard to do myself. And I'm very happy to admit that was just too difficult for me to do on my own. So having it separate and external is, yeah, like I say, no brainer.
Love that. And having a space where you still get to feel creative, chaotic, whatever works for you, but do that in a space that then, yeah, helps that feel more intentional. Caitlin, thank you so much for your time, for everything you shared, for being in On It. I will share all of your links below for people that want to come and follow this next very exciting stage of your journey and connect with what you do because it is so needed. And I've said this to you personally, but I really love your mission, your message. I think it's what a lot of us need to hear. Thank you for what you do. And thanks for chatting with me.
Oh, thanks for having me on. And thank you for facilitating such a vital space for small business owners because, we all need some support.
We do. That means so much. Thank you.